People assume that having a high IQ is like having a cheat code for life. The general consensus is that if you're smart, you solve problems instantly, breeze through challenges, and succeed without really trying. But look closely at the lives of highly intelligent people, and you often find a very different reality. Many deal with chronic anxiety, fight off burnout, and feel completely isolated in a crowded room. The disconnect comes from how we define intelligence. We usually judge it by the output, the ability to recite facts or ace an exam. But intelligence is actually about the input. It's the capacity to absorb and process massive, dense amounts of data from your environment every single second. Running a brain with that kind of high-definition processing power requires a massive amount of energy. It picks up on signals, patterns, and subtleties that slip right past everyone else, creating invisible cognitive burdens that most people never experience. To truly understand what it costs to operate a high-speed mind, we have to peel back the curtain on the daily experience of intelligence. It breaks down into 3 escalating layers of awareness that constantly weigh on the brain. The first layer of awareness points directly inward. A highly intelligent mind rarely shuts off. Instead, it runs on a relentless, unbreakable loop. You analyze passing comments, read deeply into situations, and dissect your own emotions until there's nothing left. Because your brain is optimized to foresee every possible variable, executing a simple decision becomes agonizing. One basic choice immediately fractures outward into dozens of potential scenarios, risks, and secondary outcomes. Psychologists call this analysis paralysis. When you can vividly imagine every single way a choice could play out, the sheer volume of data locks up your ability to act. The thinking process, which is supposed to help you decide, actually prevents you from moving forward. This internal pressure often mutates into what psychology terms maladaptive perfectionism. You set impossibly strict standards for yourself, operating under the rigid belief that any outcome falling short of absolute, flawless execution is a total failure. Combine that punishing internal standard with the external expectation that you always have to be the smart one, and the result is a deep fear of making even one mistake. You start feeling like a fraud waiting to be exposed, a phenomenon known as impostor syndrome. This first layer of awareness turns the internal mind into a pressure cooker. Your exceptional cognitive capacity directly fuels high levels of anxiety. The second layer of awareness pushes outward, dictating how the intelligent mind navigates social dynamics and everyday interactions. A brain that is biologically wired to crave intense mental stimulation does not handle routine well. When forced into repetitive tasks or endless small talk, it reacts with agonizing boredom. You might zone out or entirely lose motivation, simply because the brain requires a higher degree of complexity to stay engaged. This creates a difficult social divide. You naturally crave deep, meaningful conversations, exploring philosophy, psychology, or abstract concepts, but most people are perfectly content to keep things surface level. That mismatch often leaves you feeling isolated and misunderstood, even when you're surrounded by people. And when you do engage, your brain's hyper-awareness of patterns works against you. It automatically peels back the polite surface of an interaction to track subtle shifts in behavior, instantly flagging negativity, dishonesty, and manipulation. You see the hidden motives behind the words. Constantly running this kind of background scan on the sublayers of human behavior takes a massive toll, making casual socializing both physically and mentally exhausting. Human connection is supposed to be a source of comfort, but under this second layer of awareness, spending time with others becomes a high-stakes, draining analytical task. The third and final layer zooms out to the macro level. This is the intelligent person's relationship with existence, authority, and the world at large. You don't accept things at face value. There is a relentless drive to interrogate traditions, challenge leaders, and even doubt your own core beliefs. While this deep curiosity drives innovation, it also unmoors you from the simple, easy answers that bring peace of mind to the rest of society. While some imagine the genius as a cold, calculating figure, high cognitive capacity actually provides the raw materials for profound empathy. Because your brain picks up on minute social cues, a slight tremor in a voice or a micro-expression, It constructs a high-resolution simulation of what the other person is feeling. This detailed mental simulation triggers a mechanism known as emotional contagion. Since your mind processes these external emotional signals with the same intensity as your own thoughts, you unconsciously begin to mimic and absorb the pain of those around you. Someone else's grief or frustration hits your mind and immediately blooms outward, coloring your entire mood. You end up carrying an incredibly heavy emotional weight that isn't even yours to bear. This final layer strips away the luxury of blissful ignorance. It leaves the highly intelligent person exposed, carrying the raw, unshielded emotional weight of an incredibly complex world. High intelligence represents a multidimensional way of experiencing reality in layers that others simply cannot see. It is a constant, high-speed engagement with the world that reaches far beyond merely having the right answers. If you find yourself battling overthinking, isolation, or burnout, it's important to recognize that you are not psychologically broken. You are dealing with the natural side effects of a high-speed mind. This extreme level of perception is a rare cognitive gift. However, like any piece of high-performance hardware, it requires specific operating conditions to prevent that gift from becoming a burden. Surviving and thriving means implementing deliberate maintenance. It requires setting strict mental boundaries to manage your empathy, giving yourself permission to step away from the noise, and curating a social circle that can actually match your depth. Your intense experience of life is a natural result of your biology. You aren't being too much. You just think and feel far deeper than most.